Jeff, how you doing, my friend?
Tyler, I'm doing pretty well, actually.
Dude, sounds good. Because this is the teacher dudes, right?
That's right. It is the teacher dudes.
The teacher dudes. And we're
Spicoli.
the what? Say it. What was that?
Spicoli. Fast
Spicoli?
Fast Times at Ridgemount High.
Never heard of
Dude.
such cartoons.
Oh my cartoons.
Isn't that a cartoon from Saturday morning?
No, it is a movie from the 80s. Come on.
No,
Mr.
I know what you're
Spicoli.
talking about.
Yeah, okay. I thought so.
Yes, no, I gotcha. Well, we titled this episode 3, Turn the Page, and you actually came up with that suggestion. And I must say, the second I heard that, I was like, dude, I'm with you. I'm like, that is it. So where'd you get the inspiration for Turn the Page?
From Metallica, who got the inspiration from Bob Seger.
Yes, and that is one of my favorite Metallica songs of all times. And Metallica is one of my favorite bands of all times. It's actually kind of fun because Zane will listen to it with me and he's like, okay, I like this. And he's starting to get into it a little bit more and more every time we listen. So it's kind of fun.
One band of very few that I have not seen that I still want to see before they're done.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself because when they were here in Boise, I was like, it's too expensive to go. There's no way I can go. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, dang it. I wish I would have went to the concert.
Yeah, that $120 wouldn't have seemed so bad now, but back then,
yeah,
I was like, I'm not spending $120 on a concert.
Right. And I've seen some recordings of that concert and other recordings. I was just like, man, dang it. Oh well. But you know what they say, life goes on, right?
And they'll be coming back.
Yeah, hopefully. I can't wait to get back to in-person everything. And one thing with in-person that I have honestly missed hanging out with you, like we said last time, Buffalo Wild Wings, watching your Ducks lose like they did again in the Fiesta Bowl.
Like they did again in the Fiesta Bowl, yeah. Yeah, they did.
But yeah, I had to.
That's all right.
Yeah. So anything exciting going on in your realm over in the town a few zip codes over from me?
No, not really that I can think of. I got a group of ducks that like hanging out outside the backyard there. That's about it.
Yeah, we got nothing out here. It's just, living life, living the dream, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So last week, and I heard out from a few of our listeners, and I say few because we probably have like 3 by now, which is still awesome that we have a few. So if you are listening, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And if you're not listening, well, you should be. So I don't know why I'm talking to you because you're not hearing me. But if you are listening, please feel free to share this out with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Even, if you want to write a letter and send it to your friends, that'd be cool too. We can come up with a QR code for you if you need to. That'd be a kind of a good nerdy way to do it.
You mentioning people who weren't listening just reminded me of what I did again today with students. When I'll go to take roll, I'll be like, hey, if you're not here, raise your hand, and they get a kick out of that one.
And I'm sure there's a few kids that do raise their hand, right? Especially in the 4th and 5th graders.
Oh yeah, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, of course. Well, a couple of them reached out to me, and they really enjoyed having Zane on here last week doing the Would You Rather. And I know for me it was fun. It seemed like you were having fun, unless I'm totally misreading your body language. But it was a fun time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I like things like that.
Yeah, so agree or disagree? Should we have Zane come on and give us his answers from last week's Would You Rather?
I wanted to hear what Zane had to say.
All right, so let's bring him in here and see what he had to say. Okay, Zane. So last week we had some fun with the Would You Rather. So now it is your turn to give us your answers. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so for your first one, it was, would you rather live in a home without electricity or in a home without running water?
I would say live in a home without running water because I don't think I can live without electricity.
Okay, that's a good answer. So second one, would you rather have no reflection in mirrors or never show up in photographs?
I would say no reflection in mirrors.
All right, and here's the third one. It was, would you rather look back at large amounts of money you've wasted or look back at having had very little money at all?
I would do having very little money at all because the highest money I've ever gotten was about $200.
So the highest money Zane has ever gotten is about $200. So that's some good answers there for a 7-year-old, if I might say so myself.
Yeah, that's a pretty good amount of money too.
It really is. And he came up with a new game for us this week. It's titled Would You Rather, and the audio is kind of choppy because we did record this a few minutes before we came on, so I didn't really have time to get it all polished and everything like I normally would, so bear with it.
All right.
So we, just like last time, we have three questions and then we'll discuss them as we go. Are you ready?
I am.
All right, so Zane, what is question number 1?
This week we are playing a game called Agree or Disagree. The goal of the game is to just agree or disagree with a statement. Are you ready? Let's do this. Agree or disagree. Toasted marshmallow is the best flavor of jelly beans.
Jeff, what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with Zane?
I disagree with that one.
Ooh, there we go. There it is on the screen. So you disagree. Why?
I disagree. Wow, there's just a lot better flavors than that. Chocolate, coconut, cinnamon.
Chocolate jelly bean?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, gross. See, now I actually have to disagree with Zane too, because for me, I actually like the cherry and the sour cherry and those flavors. I do not like the toasted marshmallow.
Oh, I don't mind it.
It's just not there. Speaking of jelly beans, have you ever done the Bean Boozled game?
No, and I never will.
That you know of. So just wait till next time once COVID's over and Zane and I head over. I might be checking those jelly beans.
Yeah.
Just wait. All right, so here is question number dos.
Agree or disagree. Soda is better tasting than water.
So agree or disagree. Soda is better tasting than water.
So the two words I'm looking at are better tasting. So I will say it's better tasting than water, but that's as far as I'm going to go. I am not a soda drinker.
Which, on part of that, I'll agree. On the other part, I'm like, it all depends on context. Because if you're in the middle of a workout, I'm not sure drinking a Pepsi Max is going to be a good idea. Water might taste and would definitely be better.
Yeah, it would. However, if you're eating a bowl of popcorn, a nice cream soda is pretty good with that.
Ooh, cream soda would be good. And speaking of workouts, guess what today was, Jeff?
Day number 6?
No, day number 7.
Day number 7.
Day number 7. And tomorrow makes 8. So I'm 1 week in, and I'm holding true to what I said on episode 2 or 1. I can't remember which one, but I am holding true to what we said. So that's kind of awesome.
Good job. Keep it up.
Now here is the last question from Zane.
And then agree or disagree. Twizzlers are better tasting than Sour Patch Kids.
Twizzlers are better tasting than Sour Patch Kids.
I do not like Twizzlers at all. They taste like chemicals.
So you disagree?
I disagree.
You know, I will actually agree with you to disagree with Zane because I love the Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, I do too.
They are good. They are good. So Jeff, let's transition here to something else here. So this week on Tuesday, we got word from our school district in kind of a surprise statement that we are going to be going back 100% elementary starting on January 19th. Now, you guys have been everybody back since before Christmas or right after Christmas?
Before Christmas, right after Thanksgiving.
Okay. So you had about what, a 2-week transition time?
I don't remember.
Okay. But was it that right after Thanksgiving up till Christmas, you know, that amount of time you were full back?
Yeah, we were full back. Yes.
Okay. And with that, would you say that despite the masks that kids are supposed to be wearing and the distancing, would you say that school is kind of what it was last February 2020?
Yeah, I would.
So same feel, all that stuff, other than the obvious, right?
Yeah, other than the obvious, it makes it a little more challenging to hear what students are saying, but yeah, besides the obvious, I think it's pretty close back to the way it was.
Okay. So we had a question come in, and this question actually is coming in from the academic coach at my school. So like I've said, I am the technology integration coach at my school, and you're the PE teacher at your school. So the academic coach at my school, we share a room. We call it the Swamp, and because we're the Sherman Gators, so why not call our room the Swamp? It makes sense. And this is something we've been talking about quite frequently of what's going to happen when we go back full time. And she brought up something to me the other day, and I was like, that's actually a really, really good thought. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here, and I'll read it for those listeners that are listening to it on Spotify, which actually we're on now, Jeff. So we're on Spotify, which is kind of sweet, and we're on Google Podcasts. And here soon, we're going to be on Apple Podcasts. So, we're getting out there. We're getting big time.
All right. Waiting for somebody to ask me for an autograph. Then we'll really be,
Hey, there you go. Yeah. So her thought, and again, this is from Jennifer Miller. She's an awesome lady. And her thought was this. She goes, this last year in education has been nuts. I had a typo there. My bad. It completely ripped education out of the box that it has been in for decades. Now that we have hope of things returning to normal, what does that mean? Personally, I think it would be a shame to put everything back in the box right where it was. Educators were forced to innovate. Students were forced to innovate. What is your opinion on the return to quote unquote normal? So okay. I'm kind of thinking we should let's break that up a bit, because there's a few different thoughts. And as I was presenting that to you, you were even saying like, okay, well, we need to dissect this a bit.
Yeah.
So the first thought here, when she says the last year in education has been nuts, I think we can agree with that.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Just given COVID and everything, right?
Yeah.
And her next thing, she goes, it completely ripped education out of the box that it has been in decades.
So I have only been teaching for little over 1 decade. So as far as a personal experience, I only have that much time being in education. But I think that what we've been doing has not changed. The way we have to do it, sure, that had to change. But what we've been doing has stayed the same. So for me, I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree with that.
Okay. So on this note, and there's one word in there that I disagree with what she's saying. And the word that she said there was decades. And my thoughts with that is it's been more than just decades, I think. And I say this because when I was teaching history in 5th grade, we would show a schoolroom of an old schoolhouse from the 15, 16, 1700s, whatever it was. And what happened is I would ask the kids, I'd go, okay, so how is this right here different than what we have today? And they would say, well, there's a chalkboard at the front. And I point to the whiteboard. I go, so okay, so it's a whiteboard instead of a chalkboard, but is their purpose different? And then they would sit there, well, no. And I go, so what else do you guys notice? Well, the teacher's desk's in the front of the room. I go, okay, so there's a change, because in my classroom, I'd always like to have mine in the back or to the side of the room. And I believe yours was the same, correct?
I didn't have a desk, but where I would hang out the most was off to the side.
Okay. So, but your computer was in the back of the room. Is that right? No,
my computer was it was a laptop, so it could move, but it was more in the front, off to the side.
Sorry. So when I worked with you and actually was able to see your classroom, I should say, it was more in the back of the room, which is what I was referring to. If you can remember all those years ago.
I know. Yeah. It may have been.
Yeah. And then the next thing I said, I go, okay, so, but my desk is here. And they're like, well, the students' desks are the same or are different. I'm like, yep, they are. But where are you guys sitting now? And they looked and like, oh, wait, fundamentally it's the same thing, right?
Sure.
And then we got into it, and I was talking to him like, so really it's basically back then, and whenever it was the teacher was in front of the room talking, and then the students were working. So in theory, education really, prior till here recently, really hasn't changed much in a long time in that regard, if you kind of follow what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. The physical parts of it, I agree.
Yeah. So that alone. So then it says, now that we have hopes that things are returning to normal, what does that mean? And where she's going with is, personally, I think it would be a shame to put everything back in the box right where it was. Educators were forced to innovate. Students were forced to innovate. What is your opinion on the return to normal? So on this one, Jeff, you've had a few weeks, if not a month, to kind of have a lead on us where we're at and going back 100%. What are your thoughts on that, on this thought of returning to quote unquote normal, and how it relates to what we've been dealing with for the past year or so?
Well, I just think that that using the word normal doesn't, it's a not an accurate way to say things, because we always are looking for better ways to educate. We can't, at least from what I've seen, from where I'm at and how I teach, we can't just rely on the same stuff over and over again, because there's always a better way, and there's always different students that respond to different ways of learning. So by having this happen, we've been kind of forced to try out some things that we may not have tried out before, but we get to keep moving forward and keep finding out what works best, what works best for some of the students that we have, and just for running a classroom in general. So I think it's a good thing, but I'm also someone who likes to think outside the box. I don't like to be inside the box, doing things in a normal sort of way.
Oh, sorry. I was on mute. That's been the the saying for how long now of you're on mute.
Yeah,
dude, when we're in person, we don't have that.
No,
which is kind of nice. You're
just
kind of muffled because of the mask, but yeah. And it's interesting, those things. So kind of based on what you're saying, what was the one thing when you guys returned back to having your kids? What was that one thing where you kind of felt, okay, we're back?
Being able to actually physically see them and interact with them, be able to joke with them, be able to talk with them and look them in the eyes, and not on a camera, look them in the eyes in person, and just reconnect in that way.
Yeah. I think the connection is something that we've been longing to have. And as we're talking, I posted, I was saying where people are watching from, and the academic coach I was referring to, Jennifer Miller, she's watching right now. So what up, Miller? And also this other person, the fat cat, who is not showing their picture, although I do know who this is. He's saying he's watching from a web browser. So good old dad joke right there. And we all know how we like dad jokes, right, Jeff?
I just used a dad joke today at lunchtime. Oh yeah, I put a signboard up where the students line up for lunch to advertise things like when our jump rope club will be meeting. So I advertised that today, but then I thought, well, I'll just throw a dad joke up there every once in a while. So my dad joke today was, why do sharks swim in salt water? Because pepper would make them sneeze. That's why. That's right.
I've never heard that one. That's awesome. So why would sharks, or why do sharks
swim in salt water?
Okay. Because pepper would make them sneeze.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I get to have the fifth graders roll their eyes at me as they walk by, and I'm like, that's right. That's funny. It's funny.
Well, one day they'll really appreciate it.
They will. Yes, they will.
They will. And yeah. So the other thing, as you were talking there, that I was thinking of, what is your opinion on, going back to normal? The couple things that she mentioned about innovating, and I really do think teachers have had to innovate in various different ways, regardless if it's innovating on just simply how to connect with the kids. Besides the obvious, we all know that we're connecting with the kids through a computer or through a phone, but they got to really figure out how to connect, because talking on a computer is different than being in person.
Yeah, and when you use technology, it really does have a natural way of taking that personal touch away from you, and you have to figure out how to get that back, because it can easily just feel very cold compared to when you're actually in person talking to somebody. Yeah,
absolutely. And the bridge, the middle ground, whatever, is being able to have a video chat where it's kind of half there, but kind of not, because like right now, you and I have spent countless hours together, hanging out in each other's classrooms, going to a sports bar, watching football, and all of that stuff. And it's different, when you come over to my house in what I call the man cave, and it's all UW stuff in here, of course. But it's different when you're sitting on the couch next to me and we're watching a game than if we were to watch a game and we're on a Zoom call together. It's just, it's different.
Yeah, it is.
And
even something as personal as when Christmas came and my daughter and I were opening gifts, and we had my parents on a video call from their home, and I mean, they're my parents, but it didn't feel like it really should.
Yeah, we did the same thing. And, every year at Christmas, we will get up at 4 or 5 a.m. And, it's a miracle. The miracle of Christmas, as I joke around, is that I get up at 4 or 5 a.m. And I'm sure for you, that would be a complete different story because we know you like to sleep in.
Yeah.
But, jumping on a Zoom call when we're normally up in Lewiston, Idaho, and all in person, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Now, the other thought with it is we had to figure out how to connect, and then we had to figure out how to teach. It's not we're in person and we can read all the kids' body language and understand if they truly get it. It's we got to figure out how to teach when we're online and create these videos and send them out. Now for someone like me, it was fun. I enjoyed creating those videos and doing it, but there was still that thing that was missing. So now I was coming at it from the classroom teacher side doing that, but also I was helping out the other teachers in my school with the technology side. So it was tough. And for you in PE, what did you do in that virtual environment? Like, how did you innovate, using Miller's words there? How did you innovate how you were teaching it?
Well, as far as getting students to be able to do movements, it was, what can I actually create that they can do from home, that they actually have the equipment to be able to use to do from home, and being able to go on to YouTube and just simply find videos that they could follow along with. That was the innovation part. But what I found is that the motivation part really stayed the same, because I still tried to make sure I was connecting with them. I still tried to make sure that they were having fun, that my personality was coming out with them, and it was hopefully engaging them just in the same exact way that I would be trying to engage and motivate them if they were physically with me in the classroom.
Yeah, with PE, I think that would be tough. I know our PE teacher, she did a good job at connecting with the kids through Flipgrid and doing a recorded message and then sending it out, and the kids would send a video recording of them back to her that she was able to watch and stuff. But it's different. It's just, it's different. So yeah. And so we had, the first part was connecting with kids, connecting or teaching, right? Mm-hmm. And the third part is parents, which really, for the most part, connecting with parents kind of stayed the same, other than we just couldn't have parent teacher conferences.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think we were able to have parent teacher conferences when they were supposed to happen. I didn't get to see exactly what it looked like, and our parent teacher conferences were student led, which I absolutely love when students lead their own conference.
Oh, agree.
Anytime you can give the control to the students and help them understand the purpose behind it, and let them figure it out, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know with our parent teacher conferences, we did them through Teams meetings, and parents were able to connect by going to our Microsoft bookings and sign up for a time with the teacher. And it actually worked out really well. From my understanding, I didn't do any of the parent teacher conferences in this fall, but we had some good feedback, so that is good. But the other flip side of all of this that I want to bring up, and as we're going back to in-person learning, okay, is I honestly think that it really, really depends on the kid, on how they're going to interact now with this being in person learning for after a year, for at least our students. We had some hybrid here and there, but the interesting side is, what about those kids that actually did really well in this virtual environment and they thrived in it because they were able to kind of isolate, they were able to do their thing, get their learning done, and truly thrived. So what are your thoughts on that? As you know, as our title is Turn the Page, what are your thoughts on, as we turn the page out of remote learning, what about those kids that actually did really, really good in it? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that you're just given an opportunity there to allow those students to be able to use the innovations that the teacher discovered and the innovations that they were using, to continue using those processes. And they may be in the classroom, and that may be a more challenging place for some of them to experience, but they get to maybe take some of that innovation home, and they get to work on it where they thrive the most. Because after all, when I was in an actual classroom, my students didn't have to stay seated at their table where they were at. If they learned better in daylight, sitting next to a window, hey, that's where they got to be. If they learned better standing and walking around using a clipboard, that's what they got to do. Trying to really adjust to however that student learns, and just simply holding them accountable to, okay, if you learn this way best, I'm going to let you do it. But I do still have an expectation that you're going to stay on task, and you're going to complete what needs to be completed.
Now with that, there, you know, we have those kids now, and we're in 2021, and the biggest pet peeve that I have is the quote unquote 21st century classroom. Like, I absolutely cannot stand that term, because it's 2021. We're 21 years now into the 21st century, and we keep hearing the 21st century classroom. That drives me insane.
Okay.
So what are we supposed to think about for those kids that are on that side of, you know what, it's time for the digital revolution to really take place in education? Why am I grabbing this textbook that weighs 15 pounds why can't you just send me a PDF of what I'm supposed to read and you know, answer the questions for what? Because for me, it's like, I agree with you. It's 2021. There's no reason for you to be carrying around 14 different textbooks. You know, obviously exaggerating, but right. You know, for the typical kid, 3 or 4 in elementary, and high school, you know, 7 or 8. I kind of have to agree. Like, if we can do it digitally, why not?
Yeah, and I don't know if I have have an opinion about that. You and I have seen kind of differently, and you are much more of a technology person, and I'm not as far there as you are when it comes to using technology. I still think there's value in being able to physically handle a book. There's value in using a pencil and a piece of paper. There's value in those things that you can still touch, and putting everything on a computer screen. I think that takes away from us as human beings. So then with what you said, because I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. It's more this question, and I know you weren't teaching at this time, and if I was to reach out to any of my former teachers, you know, I could probably ask them this about that transition from the chalkboard to the whiteboard. And I would be curious to see, you know, if there was that sort of, well, but I use a chalkboard. Mm-hmm. Why am I doing this? You know, that kind of stuff. And I'm seeing that too, because if you remember back when Amazon,
If that's the word that shouldn't be spoken, whatever. But if you remember back when the Kindle came out, the original one, and we started getting these things called ebooks. And this debate went on for I don't know how long about, well, but I like physical books. Well, but I like reading it on a screen. For me personally, I've read more books on my iPad than I have in a physical book. Even those that I was supposed to read in high school, well, I faked my way through it, to be honest with you. And it was just something that I didn't like. And I like it on a screen. I can write on the screen. It doesn't do anything. And it's just, I can change the text size. I can change the background color. I can change the font. I can make it the way that I want it to be so that it's most comfortable for me. So do you think that plays a part in any of this too?
No, I don't. I think that it just comes right back down to how do you learn best?
And so with that, then, are you okay if you have a kid that would learn best with a physical book, and then a kid that learns best digitally? You as a classroom teacher, are you okay or willing to give each child what they need to succeed?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. See, in that mindset right there is what I feel we need to have today. Is we need that mindset of how do you learn best? And me as a teacher, I'm going to get you there. I'm going to get you the tools that you need.
And teaching them how they learn best, how they think. What is that? That's metacognition, right? And teaching them how to recognize that so that they know what works best for them.
Yes.
For me, hearing something for me is the worst way for me to learn. I need to tangibly handle it, touch it, and experience it. That's the best way for me to learn right there.
Yeah.
So
that was just reading. Now when it comes to writing, I know you mentioned that there's value in handwriting. And here in Idaho, we actually have handwriting standards that we must cover. But if a kid can't write legibly, we can't read his writing, and is able to type it out, are you willing to accept a handwritten assignment and a typed assignment, or were you one that no, you're going to write it out, or no, you're going to type it?
So I think that there's two things there. As far as writing it or typing it goes, the place where it becomes the most important, from what I saw, for elementary, is when they are going to take an ISAT test and they're going to have to actually type their response onto a screen. Because if they're not proficient at typing to a certain degree, then that's going to start to detract from their ability to do the task at hand.
Right.
But if we are practicing and we are in our daily, our weekly work on learning how to correctly write a paragraph or write paragraphs or that sort of thing, and they are learning the steps of that, and they want to grab a pencil and a paper and they want to do it that way, absolutely do it that way. Now I may have them at a certain point take what they've written and say, okay, now I want you to type it on a screen, because I need you to get used to that. But as far as their learning goes and the process of writing, yeah, if typing works best for you, do that. If writing works best for you, do that.
Yeah, so that brings up something that I remember when I was at Meridian with you, and my partner teacher back then, her and I know you know her well, and she's a fantastic person. The couple of years that I had together with her were awesome. Love everything about them. Her and I had this discussion of the writing process, and I remember me saying, they can go ahead and type their first draft. Why not? It's what I do. I've been doing that since college. And, at that time it was 2016, 2017. Why they don't need to handwrite it down. They don't need to do that. And her response was actually really good. She goes, okay, yes. However, you've had X amount of years to practice the skill of writing a first draft, editing it, and then having to rewrite, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing that she said, she goes, it's tangible. It's very hard. And again, this was a few years ago. So today, this conversation would be much different, I really think. And, I'm going to have you reach out to her to see if she wants to join us, because I think that'd be actually a lot of fun.
Okay.
But at that time, the kids need to handwrite it out so that they could physically give it to the other kid to edit. And then the other kid is able to read it, mark it up, and talk about it and hand it back. Now, and then I was like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense. I understand it. And we came to a good compromise. It was, okay, first draft, handwritten. Second draft, depending on the kid, needs to be handwritten or typed, doesn't matter. But, final draft, depending, probably needs to be typed. And
yeah. So I think where it really comes into play, and I agree, is when you have a student getting ready to edit what they've written and be able to to be able to effectively see the mistakes and figure out, okay, where do I have to fix stuff? The hardest part with doing it on the computer, which is fixable, but the hardest part is being able to monitor that and keep track of what you're fixing and what you're not fixing. Whereas a physical piece of paper, it's a little easier to do when you are in this whole learning process. Would we say that to a junior in high school? No, probably not.
Right.
But to a third, fourth, or fifth grader, yeah.
Yeah, see, with that, and again, that conversation was in 2016, 2017, or 2015, whenever it was, 20. Good grief. I'm probably saying the wrong years. My bad. It was probably
about 2014, 2015, right?
Yeah, 2014, 2015. Good grief. Yeah. But, now today it's actually a lot easier because we're able to, at my school, we have one-to-one iPads with all the kids. And we have Logitech crayons, which are basically an Apple Pencil, a stylus. And so the kids can actually share their document and write on top of it like you would a physical piece of paper. And so for me, I took everything that you were saying there because it is valid. For those schools that are only Chromebooks, this doesn't work. For those schools that are only, PCs, it doesn't really work. But for us, when we first started hearing about COVID, and I'd been doing this for a good amount of time before that, we used OneNote and Teams, and the kids would type out their draft. And then when they came up to me, let's say it's just writing or even math, they would have to do their math on OneNote. They would come up and want me to check their math. Well, while they're in front of me, what I did is I would access their OneNote through my side as a teacher. And then I would be able to write on it, much like I would write on their physical paper. And they're able to see their screen at the same time. And then I'm able to write up, mark up. So it was taking everything that you're saying, and we modernized it, digitized it, and it worked.
Well, and I started doing that with Microsoft Word because we got to where I could have a student's paper up on the Promethean board. The student could be on their laptop looking at it. Other students could be looking at the Promethean board while I'm reading the paper. I'm typing comments that are real time. The student whose paper it was is seeing my comments being typed real time. And the students whose paper it wasn't, they're able to start to work on that editing process and notice mistakes that I have not called out yet, or I haven't seen, and then go, oh, hey, he's missing a period there, or he didn't capitalize, or that sentence is kind of weird. It doesn't make sense. So so yeah, those things become a good thing to be able to use.
Yeah, and really, taking that example, that's no different than going back a few years before that, where they would have their paper and you'd put it underneath the document camera.
I like the idea of putting a paper under a document camera and having a student be willing to be that spotlight student, so that their work can be seen by everybody else, which is kind of helpful, especially to students who are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And they can take their work we can take a student's work and say, hey, are you willing to spotlight it so other people can watch what it is you're doing? So yeah.
Well, but in theory though, it's the same idea. Whether you're putting their Word document on the Promethean board, or putting their written document under the document camera, in philosophy and theory, it's the same idea.
So to circle around what we've been talking about, and to come back to that initial question that you read, or that paragraph that you read, there are all sorts of things and all sorts of ways that learning can happen. And where is it? It says educators were forced to innovate, students were forced to innovate. So we are always finding what works better with what we have available to us. And what we were just talking about is finding things that we want to try, that we can maybe figure out, okay, how can this work better than what we've been doing? I always wanted to, when I saw a movie that had it had the Google offices down in California in the movie. I can't remember. The Internship, I think it's called.
Was it with Vince Vaughn?
Vince Vaughn, yeah.
Yes.
And I saw those clear writing boards where you could stand on either side and write on them. Oh, I thought that would be a fantastic thing for especially math, to be able to put into a classroom and allow students to be able to work together, standing up, using those. You'd have to deal with a little bit of okay, don't do that. You're messing around now. You're not working. But I think that the benefits of those clear boards would be fantastic.
Oh yeah. It's interesting to see where things are going. If you get a chance, look up the active learning environment at some point.
Okay.
Because it is a really, really cool idea. And, we might need to talk about it later, because it was an idea that I remember you and I talking about when I was at the same school. And we kind of had this vision. There's a group of us with the vision of this. And now that it's coming out, I'm like, why didn't I actually, make that more mainstream of an idea? But look that up. But all in all, if we were to answer the question that's just said, what is your opinion on the return to normal? If you can sum that up in the kind of your elevator speech, your quick little 15 to 20 second thoughts on that, what do you think you would say is your opinion on returning to normal, quote unquote normal, I should say?
Yeah.
I'll give you a 60-second timer.
You'll give me a 60-second timer? Oh, boy. I don't think that the word normal is the word that needs to be used. I think that the word should be something like next. That we are always pushing forward to what.
And my timer doesn't work. Sorry.
That we're always pushing forward to what will work next, what will work best with what we have in front of us, and it may seem normal because we're doing it now, but we're only doing it now because we don't know what is coming up next. So I think that having that mindset of this is how we're doing it now, but what will we be doing next? How will we discover that learning will be able to be even better than it is right now?
Yeah, when I go back to that original thought of what is your opinion on the return to normal, my thought is like it actually does align with what you're saying. We need to keep looking forward. Don't look back. We need to look back to learn from what we've done, learn from our mistakes, learn from what was good, but constantly improving on it, constantly moving forward. And there's a lot of things in distance learning, remote learning, and crisis learning, all these different terms that we have heard over the past 9 months, 10 months, whatever it's been, that have been thrown out there. There's a lot of things that in this realm have been really good.
Yeah,
the creativity that I've seen out of the teachers at my school, unbelievable. The way that the teachers at my school have gone out of their way to help out families, whether it be literally driving food boxes to their house, or in the case with me and my wife, we got a grant of over $1,000 for my school to be able to get the simple household necessities and being able to hand those out to the families as they picked up their free lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those things I don't want to see end ever. Like,
right.
If we can help out, why not? And if we can create these videos and connect with some kids, great, let's do it. And then there's some things that I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Like, nope, I'm sorry. Just giving a kid a YouTube link to go watch a history movie and write your thoughts down. Like, I remember doing that in high school, as literally, we're going to sit in class and watch a history movie and then write thoughts down. Like, that didn't work then. It's not going to work now, because all we know is that kids are going to be sitting at home, and the fat cat said, now it's teachers teaching and kids at home playing video games. We all know that's what kids are going to do, and they're going to find a way in class. So there are some things that we did that, what, if it never comes back, I don't care. I don't ever want to see the mad minutes again for math.
I don't know what that is.
The quick 1 minute multiplication test, the quick 1 minute whatever test. Like, okay, yeah, I can understand the value, but I don't want to see them. Let's do something else. And there are some other things that I really want to see continue. I want to see students creating and producing things that they want to do to show their learning. Mm-hmm. If a student can create a 2-minute video on, the difference between a plant and animal cell, great, let's do it. I don't care if you can write a 3-4 paragraph paper on it. If you can explain it in a video and you're giving accurate information and you can, compare and contrast, cool. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. And the value of it for the student,
yep,
and what they're able to get out of it. That greatly outweighs something like a grade.
Right. And there's this old saying here, and this is going to be my last thought on this before we close up, is if I go home from school and I am more tired than my students, something's wrong. That's not how it should be. And I think, the students need to be working harder than me. It's my job to teach them when they need to be taught a concept, but it's also their job to process, work through, have grit, push through it, and truly learn it.
Yeah, it's our job though to kind of keep one step ahead,
yep,
and to be aware of, okay, this is where this is going to go. So what do I want to have prepared to be ready to challenge that student who says, okay, I got this. All right, good. Well, what about this? What about that?
I'll always be ready for that. What about this? The what if?
Yeah.
And so with that, with your permission, Jeff, I truly feel that we can turn the page on 2020. We can turn the page on the past however many years of education, because we've already learned it, we've lived it, and it's time to look forward. So with your permission, can we turn that page?
We can turn that page to tomorrow.
Yes. Turn the page to tomorrow, and take things one day at a time. Because we don't know what's going to happen past that.
And enjoy those days regardless of what is happening. Have joy.
Yes. And with some joy, Jeff, I asked you last time, so I'm going to ask you I asked you last time about video games, and it kind of took you off guard.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So to wrap up that deep conversation about education, which was awesome. And, thanks again, Jennifer Miller, for the topic, because that was actually a really, really good topic, really relevant to today. And if anybody out there that's listening, if you guys have a topic, shoot me a message on Twitter at Keef67. And Jeff, we keep saying we're going to get you a Twitter handle. Let's do it.
All right.
But if you have an idea, shoot me a message. It's what we're doing. We're the teacher dudes. And if you want to join us, please do. It'd be fun. We want to get a third person on here and talk about it. And again, Jeff, reach out to the teacher I was talking about, see if she would be comfortable on jumping on, because I think it would be awesome. She's a great person. I loved teaching with her. But as like where I was going with that, instead of talking video games, let's talk about movies.
All right.
And maybe not a movie or a TV series, either one. What movie are you, or TV series, are you really into right now?
Well, I have always enjoyed the series Everybody Loves Raymond. I have all the episodes, and I can watch that anytime. Same with The Lord of the Rings. And then my cousin just brought the Hobbit series, which I've only seen once. I've seen Lord of the Rings tons of times, but I've only seen the Hobbit once. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Hobbit trilogy again.
See, I have not, the Lord of the Rings, I love them. I have the extended, and I still have not got through the Hobbit stuff.
The Hobbit was a little different. I felt like it was a little cartoony when I watched it in the theater. But that's why I want to watch it again, because I guess that Tolkien actually wrote it to kind of seem very fantastic. Not that the Lord of the Rings isn't, but it was even more over the top than from what I've been told, that it was even more over the top than the Lord of the Rings was. So it kind of lost me when I was watching it, and suddenly there were mountains fighting with each other. I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. So I want to watch it again so I can get a better feel for if it's a series I want to include in my library or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that, because I literally have no clue what you're talking about as far as the mountains fighting each other. But I want to give it a shot, because I loved Lord of the Rings, loved them, and maybe episode 4 we need to have some sort of a theme from the Lord of the Rings. Maybe it's the Fellowship of the Ring, and we talk about that, or is it the Two Towers,
Two Towers,
or the Return of the King? Whatever that might mean in anything, but yeah, I think that would be good. I think, yes, I like the idea. We'll figure it out for a future episode. And with that, I do want to thank anybody that has been watching. If you stuck with us through this 59th minute going on 60, we were planning on 30 minutes, but yeah, that didn't happen, but that's okay. Thank you so much. If you want to get a hold of us, just reach out to me on Twitter at Keef67. We are on Facebook. you can just search the Teacher Dudes, and we have a page there. There's not much on it yet. We are getting that worked on. You can listen to this on Spotify. You can listen to this on Google Podcasts, and again, hopefully Apple Podcasts here soon. But again, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. This has been fun for us, as always. And we'll have the next recording up here soon. But Jeff, I want to end it the way that we started. And dude, I had some fun tonight.
Yeah, so did I.
So we'll see you all later, and keep up the good work.